Hi all, welcome to my channel again. In this session, I'm going to discuss about how to launch your Kubernetes cluster with deployments. So, in this session, I'm going to discuss what is the deployment in Kubernetes, and we are going to create one deployment file to deploy an application using auto healing and auto scaling features. Okay. So, and what is a deployment in KDE exactly? In generic terms, deployment is the method of applying the code built in the server after successfully testing of the code. So let us suppose say if there is no Kubernetes, then how we do the deploy? So we deploy our code to the different servers. So in order to deploy our code, first we will build that code and that executable we store somewhere. Then from there we pick that up and then we deploy into the different servers. Let's say EC2 servers itself. So in that place, instead of the servers, here we are using the Kubernetes. So this will give the entire outcome of how the application works in the production. The deployment of the code needs to happen in a smooth and error-free manner. So it should not have any like time delays or anything like that. So it should be in an error free manner, should be done in an error free manner. And in the IT industry for deployment, Kubernetes is used. So using Kubernetes deployments helps you to maintain the stability and high availability of your containers. For example, if a node crashes and your containers are running on that node, if the node crashes, then containers do not respond. So you want to have a deployment or replica set in place to replace the failed pods. When the node crashes and your pods are running on that node, then you need to have the deployment or replica sets in that place to replace the failed pods automatically. So unless you want to customize the declarative orchestration updates, it is better to allow the deployments to manage your replica sets than is to manage them directly. Okay. So deployment is made of the following components. YAML file. YAML file you all might have known. We write our deployment files and any in Kubernetes in YAML files. Okay, YAML file describes the desired state of the Kubernetes cluster. Pods consist of containers, configurations, and an environment to run the applications. So entire thing which are needed to run your application depends on the pod, runs on the pod. So a replica set is a group of identical pod instances configured so that the number of running pods always matches the number of pods specified by the YAML file. Suppose we are specifying that 3 pods should get run in the whenever the deployment is run. So we have defined the replica set as 3 in the deployment YAML file so that it ensures the replica set ensures that a new pod is created whenever one got failed. And the cube scheduler is a component of the control plane and declares how the pods and replica sets are deployed in the worker nodes. So this declares the pods and replica sets are deployed in the worker nodes. And the kube controller manager, this is another component of the control plane. It watches and modifies the present cluster state to match the desired state defined in the YAML file. So whatever defined in the YAML file, it will try to match with that state. So it creates updates and remove pods and replica sets depending on the what is declared in the YAML file. So that is about the YAML file, pods, replica sets, kube schedule, and kube control manager. If you want to check out this blog, you can check that from this link which I will be keeping in the description box. From there you can read it clearly and understand it clearly. It will be helpful for you all. Now the task is to create one deployment file to deploy an application using auto healing and auto scaling features. Okay, so first write a deployment file on the server of the application that is ready for deployment. So in this deployment, we are creating a deployment YAML which is having the syntax like the first the API version and the kind is a deployment. In the previous session, when I'm explaining the syntax for the pod, you might have seen that the kind was the pod. Since there we are creating the pod, here we are creating the deployment. The kind is the deployment. Metadata is the name of the deployment, and the labels is Reddit. We can mention or we cannot. The replicas is 2. So whenever this deployment runs, the replicas are declared. Since replicas are declared as 2, it should run the 2 pods. And this is the label and the template and the specifications we have mentioned like containers. The container name is Reddit and the image we are taking from here and port is exposed to 3000. So this is how a deployment YAML is written. So whenever, since replica set is defined as 2, whenever one pod fails, it will try to start another pod automatically. So this is how you will save. Then we need to run the deployment file using the kubectl command. Kubectl apply -f and deployment YAML. Then you will see the deployment. The name of the deployment is created. Now check if the deployment is running using the kubectl command. Kubectl get deployments. Here you can see the deployment got created and it is showing the 2 replicas as, since we have used replicas as 2, it is showing here as 2. This means every time 2 pods will be running. So list the pods using the kubectl get pods command. Then you can see the 2 pods are running using the same name, deployment name. So that's all for today. And thanks for watching until the end. And if you want to check out this blog, you can check that from this link which I will be keeping in the description box. Thanks for watching.